Hey, Next Levelers, Bob Gibbons here. We're excited about another show, the Next Level Show. Hey, you know what? We've all been there, haven't we? The wedding is over. You've gone through the buffet. Now you're trying to decide if you should stay until the rice is thrown or gracefully sneak out without being noticed. Or maybe you've gone to that charity ball, they're done with the formalities, and you're thinking of going home to bed. But what's going to keep you there? I submit it's one thing, the quality of the band. Well, today's guest will keep you there all night long. Jordan Kahn began his career at the age of 12 as a DJ, and he perfected his musical talents at the Berklee School of Music in Boston, and he now has an impressive musical empire with over 100 musicians, multiple bands, including the Jordan Kahn Orchestra, the Taylor Pace Orchestra, the Georgia Bridgewater Orchestra, and Professor D. And it sounds like you're throwing one hell of a party, and I want to go. Welcome to the show, Jordan. Glad to have you.
It's great to be here.
And for those that don't know, please go to jordankahnmusiccompany.com to find more. And Kahn is Kahn. So jordankahnmusiccompany.com. Wow. That's an intro and a half for me.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
So I've been wanting somebody in the music business to be on the show for a long time. We've done 210 or whatever shows. I don't know exactly how many. And you're the first music-related guest we've had. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm always fascinated by the music business because when people think of the music business, they always think of recording artists. They think of somebody who wrote music or is singing some music that somebody, original music. But there's a whole lot of music business that is not that.
Correct.
I go see bands pretty regularly that are mainly doing covers, or I see bands at, the weddings, the corporate events, the charity events, et cetera. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in the music business that has nothing to do with original new recording. So what I'm interested in you guys is, first of all, I liked what you said when I asked what's the problem your company solves for customers. You said we provide luxury entertainment at high-end events, pack their dance floors, and leave their guests wanting more. And I've watched a whole lot of the videos. I unfortunately have not seen you live. I know, where have I been? But I've watched a lot of the videos of all your different bands, and it's really amazing stuff.
Well, thank you so much.
How did you get to that point? You're obviously delivering something that everybody else isn't delivering.
It starts with, the fundamental is it's the song. And that's the same in the original music world and in the cover music world. The song is everything. And at a wedding, if people identify the song, they enjoy the song, it's a hit, and it fits the vibe of the moment, they will get on the dance floor. Mm-hmm. A lot of bands make the music selections that they choose at an event about what they want to play or what makes them feel good.
Right.
I focus on who in the audience, what's going to make them feel good, what's going to make my bride and groom feel good, what's going to motivate grandma and grandpa who are sitting at the table while everybody else is dancing to also join in on the fun. And so, the way we do that is picking great songs. Every song that we pick is going to be a hit, and it's going to be danceable. And that's one of the ways that we solve that problem.
I think that's really important because I've seen so many times where the band can't get people out on the floor, and then they start the pathetic, come on, people, and it's just like, oh, I just cringe because, it's just like you hurt for them because they want you out there. They clearly judge their performance there by how many people are on the dance floor, but they don't know how to get you there. And then they play some song, and I'm sitting there thinking, how in the heck am I going to dance to that?
Right, exactly. And if you're thinking that, you're not going to dance to it.
Not at all. And it's uncomfortable when my wife wants to dance to that and I don't want to dance to that.
Well, she wants to dance with you to everything, probably.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't she?
Right, exactly.
But a lot of times she'll grab the girls and go out and dance, and that's all right. I don't have a problem with that at all. Well, so let's go back to where you started. So you were a DJ at 12.
Yeah. So long story short, I was into football and sports in middle school time period and got a pretty serious knee injury and was studying music also in theater, and and my dad was listening to Frank Sinatra every day, and Earth, Wind and Fire, and Luther Vandross, and all of the amazing hits and classics.
Mhm.
And he noticed me, emulating them and being able to sing like them. And, eventually he decided, in the recovery of this knee situation, that he was going to purchase some DJ equipment for me, and just see what I would do with it. And I ran with it. I was being bar mitzvahed in about a year's time. And in the Jewish religion, when you're, around that age, you're having your bar mitzvah, you are supposed to do what's a mitzvah project or a good deed in the world. And so what I chose to do was play parties and raise money for Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, nice.
And so all of my revenue that year went to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It was about $5,000. And
At 12 years old?
At 12 years old.
Holy cow. That's
doing
awesome.
$200 events.
Were you the DJ for your own bar mitzvah?
No, but I did sing and play piano. And I DJ'd other friends' bar mitzvahs and, the school socials and all those things.
So when you're doing the DJ, that takes a special talent. I mean, the one thing that's good about a DJ is the quality music is going to be good because it's the real thing, right?
The recording.
So that's not the issue. The issue is the music choice and do you have the personality to kind of bridge everything, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's kind of an intimidating task at 12 years old. I mean, even now.
I would study Rick Dees in the Weekly Top 40, and he would, every Sunday, he would, go through the top 40 songs in America and give his spiel about the artist and the song and how many weeks it was on number one and all those things. And I would incorporate that into my show. And, he was a little bit of inspiration as well.
So you were a Rick Dees man, not a Casey Kasem man.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Uh-huh.
Weren't they on at the same time even?
Sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those top 40 shows or, and of course now there's the top 40 country and the top 40 pop and all the rest. And it's always funny to me how many of those things are out there.
This was back when MTV showed music videos.
Oh, well, that's been a while. Probably be better if they still did, based on what I've seen them showing.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that. How long did you do it for? Like your whole middle school, high school, doing the DJ thing? Or no?
Through middle school and then through high school, and eventually, music was my path. And in high school, was in band, choir, jazz band, jazz choir, AP music theory. I was studying music theory in high school. Plano West was an incredible resource for their music program. It was incredible. The teachers there were great. And because of that education, I was able to actually test into some of the higher end classes into Berkeley when I arrived. So skipping some of the more basic stuff.
Right.
And, musical theater as well was a big part of that too. And focused, eventually to go away from theater and really focus on music. And then discovered Berkeley, applied, did a scholarship, got a scholarship there, got accepted there, knew what I wanted. And that was when my father suggested I joined another local band here. It's called Emerald City.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a part of that organization for about 10 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so Emerald City, of course, is a well-known band here in the DFW area. They play a lot of the...
They've been around over 30 years, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, in fact, I even I contacted them as well one time to see if the guy that runs that would be on the show, and I never heard back from him. So just as well, now I have you.
Yeah, and I ended up, I started a band in Berkeley. It was called Downtown Fever, and it was doing about $250,000 a year by the end of college. And then me and the owner of Emerald City decided to get back together. And so they have a whole bunch of bands now too. Those are bands I actually created with the owner of Emerald City Band, and became an owner in that company. And then him and I had a falling out, and I started the new company. We had a little bit of litigation. And,
oh no!
And we got through it, and everybody's moving on now.
And everybody seems to be doing well in spite of that, so that's good.
Oh, yes. I mean, the Dallas market in particular is incredible for what we do. And, while my role now in the business is to kind of expand into the rest of the country and internationally. Dallas is an incredible home base for us.
Well, and the fact that Dallas has grown so much, I mean, it's over 7 million people now. There's a lot of room. I mean, one band can't cover that, or one band company can't cover that. So,
Right, well, maybe we'll see.
well, you'll see. Aspirations. That's cool.
Maybe one day.
So when you got into to Berkeley, what was key about getting into Berkeley? I mean, for what you do now, was that critical that you have that kind of musical training to be able to do what you do today?
Yeah, very critical. And I mean, as far as getting in, learn. You had to be able to sight read. You had to be able to, notate. They would play stuff for you, and you have to be able to write down on the paper. That's how they tested you.
Whoa.
You had to prepare pieces. They would say, sing this scale. Here's the first note. They would really stretch you out. And I got lucky to be recognized as, one of the more talented people, because not a lot of people get scholarships to that school.
Mm-hmm.
It's very expensive to go. It opened up a ton of doors.
Really?
As
So
far
just
as-
that name really carries a lot of weight.
Well, not even just the name. And the name is great, but the school and the people that I met and the people that I worked with. And I mean, I was actually on Instagram, and one of my buddies who was in my band in college now is like the musical director for Britney Spears.
Oh, wow.
And I was just, chatting with him yesterday and sending him pictures. I got a picture yesterday with Kiss when I went to the concert, and I sent him the picture. He's like, no way. We're just like kind of catching up.
Sounds
But,
cool. All right, let's hold that for a second. We're going to
sure.
take a first break. We'll be right back after
Absolutely.
this. Welcome back to the Next Level Show. I'm Bob Gibbons. We're talking to Jordan Kahn of Jordan Kahn Music Company, and you can find him at that URL, jordankahnmusiccompany.com. So before the break, Jordan, we were talking about Berkeley, and when you were going to music school there in Boston, they clearly taught you a lot about music. Did they teach you much about the business of music?
They had a couple of different tracks. They have a business track. The business track that they focus on is the music business track. And to be quite honest with you, nobody knew really, and to a degree, to this day, they're still trying to figure it out, what that actually meant, because the old music business model is dead.
Yeah.
Napster and all the streaming companies and, in the 90s made it to where, selling records no longer was a thing. And that took billions of dollars out of that industry. So basically, any business classes I took, they were like, trying to give you good business acumen, but, not really clearly saying, all right, this is how the music business is or is going to be. And, in the next decade, I think you're going to really see that music business emerge. It's something me and my business partner are interested in investing in as well. And that's a whole nother one of our projects.
Mm-hmm.
My focus at Berkeley was more production engineering and vocal performance.
Okay. Now, was your so voice was certainly your instrument. You also played piano, and what else?
I play piano and I play percussion, and those are kind of like auxiliary instruments for me.
Okay.
They're not my main, and it typically, like you won't see me performing on piano in front of people. It's just kind of a thing that I do for my own musical
Yeah.
hobbies.
Well, also, but based on the performance that I've seen in the videos I saw of you guys, the singer is extremely active and involved in
Oh yeah, I'm the MC.
performance. Yeah, exactly.
Master of ceremonies. I have to get everybody in the room energetic. That's my job.
And the other, bands, Professor D, Georgia Bridgewater, and Taylor Pace, whenever I saw their videos as well, they're doing something similar. They're really the MC chief, engagement.
Those bands are created as a reflection of mine. It's the same formula. They are taught by me to call the songs in the same way that I do, and to be that energetic. And, the dance moves from our band members are the same, and the horn parts are the same across the board. So our luxury event planner clients, when they hire any of my bands, know that what they're getting is consistency. They know that we're easy to work with. And just those two things alone puts us above our competition.
Well, and the thing that struck me is I watched all of them, and I agree. I saw similarities across all the bands that I watched, and you had dancers on the stage, dancers that are also backup singers, I assume, or no?
Sometimes they do, but their focus is just dance,
Okay,
and it's to the dance moves and the choreography. They're synced up with our main female vocalist, and it's designed to where other people in the audience can actually mimic what they're doing. It's not over the top choreography that you can sit there and watch it and like, oh wow, that was cool, but I'm not dancing anymore.
yeah,
It's stuff that people can look at and be like, oh my God, if I want to dance right now, I can just do what they're doing.
yeah. When I also noticed that the band, like you mentioned, the horn section, they had a choreography going all their own that was more complicated than I mean, a couple times there, I was afraid somebody was going to get decapitated by the trombone.
Hilarious. Those guys have a lot of fun. A lot of our horn players come from the University of North Texas.
Oh, nice.
That school is an incredible school for music, and we're very grateful to have the ability to hire 100 musicians in a night and put 8 horn players on an event. And
Yeah.
they all get together and have a good time.
So, how do you market yourself? How do you market the band? Now, not today, but how did you
Sure.
do it when you first started your own band?
It's the same today as it would be back then. It's creating meaningful relationships with the people in my industry who the end clients eventually go to and say, who should I hire?
So the event planners, the
The
wedding
event
planners.
Exactly.
So do you advertise, or do you really just focus on those individuals?
We don't advertise too much. We might throw a luxury party and go all out and make everything an extremely luxury experience for our planners to get to know us. And like we have an office in New York City. We did a showcase on our rooftop on the 50th floor, and overlooking Empire State, right in the middle of Manhattan.
Nice.
And we can set up our band there and invite clients and wedding planners with full catering and bar to enjoy the band for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and get a taste of what it is that we do.
Yeah, and the live experience, I'm sure, is far better than the video.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yeah.
the video is important. I mean, a lot of people, especially in the luxury market, the buyers, they're busy people. They run multi-million-dollar businesses too.
Mm-hmm.
Our pricing is such that we're catering really to the 1% of people. And we have other bands that cater to a more wide margin of people. But if you're spending $17,000, $20,000 on a band for a wedding, you're also probably running a business or managing wealth or busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they see those videos, and their event planner who they trust recommends us. They might just book it right then and there.
So 17 to 20 grand, is that the norm anymore?
That's the starting price for Jordan Kahn Orchestra, Georgia Bridgewater, Taylor Pace, Professor D. And we also just purchased another band called Walton Stout Band.
Nice.
We actually have 9 bands now. It's
Oh my.
incredible.
So so that's the starting point, 17 to 20, and it goes up, I guess, based on where you have to go, how many
Correct.
people are going to be in the band, how
Correct.
long they
it
want
gets
you to
bigger
play.
and goes up from there. And we do have a budget-friendly option that starts at a lower price. But it's not Jordan Kahn Orchestra. You're not going to get me at that event.
Right. Yeah, I've got to be thinking about this. I have a 26-year-old daughter. So one of these days,
You got to let me know. We will take care of you.
you'll take
Absolutely.
care of me. Okay. Well, I just don't know where it's going to occur because her boyfriend is German, and so if they end up getting married, I don't know if it's going to be in Germany or here or what.
Well, that's the great thing about DFW Airport. You can fly almost anywhere nonstop.
Absolutely. So somebody wants to book you. How far in advance do they have to book?
It's an interesting question. Jordan Kahn Orchestra is probably the most booked product that we have. And so you're looking 9, 12, 15 months out in some cases.
Wow.
I mean, I've got 1 or 2 Saturdays in the next 8 months that are still available. And my New York friends make fun of me because all those weddings book 6 months or less. Like people it's a whole different market there. And they're like, you're never available. But, we have our other bands that are. And so It's so funny because the other bands get all the fun gigs in Aspen and New York more than I do because I get booked in Dallas, a year in advance.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
complaining.
But I got to admit, these really long engagements, I don't understand at all. I mean, once my wife and I decided to get married, I was like, next weekend will be fine. I mean, I was ready for it to happen. And it ended up being 3 months, but that's still lightning fast compared to a lot of people. In fact, her mother never forgave us for that. I don't think it was way too fast for her. But yeah, these guys that get engaged, and it's like, when you get married, and they throw out a 2020 date.
Yeah, we've got 2021 dates booked.
Really?
And you'd
for
be
weddings?
Oh yeah, and
my
you'd be
gosh.
surprised to how many people will choose the date based upon my schedule.
They want you.
They do, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, yeah, you should be, but they should be as well. I mean, it's a market exchange, right? You're delivering something good that they want, and there's a price for it, so that's good for you. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and we sell stars. It's not something they can really get anywhere else in any of these other band companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's an awful lot of bands. So one thing that I noticed with bands that is really interesting, there's a place my wife and I went to 3 weeks in a row, and it's a nightclub bar kind of place that has live music. The first 2 weeks, the band was amazing, different band, great acoustics, everything. Third week, I could tell it was a good band, but a terrible sound. The sound of the instruments was good, but the actual voices were just off.
Oh, wow.
It just didn't work. And I think the band leader knew it because he kept walking out onto the dance floor, out into the crowd
to listen.
And he knew something wasn't right. And it never worked. And so after the first set was over, we danced to the Kahn music for a while. And then when they came back on, we gave it another shot for a couple of songs and we left. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is that a function of just the way they set up the engineering deck or panel or whatever you call it for feedback? Or because I see this, I've even seen professionals that have this problem at times.
Yeah. The sound engineer can make you sound amazing or can make you sound terrible, even if what you're putting into the microphone is incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky to have one of the best sound engineers in the world. I truly believe that. He's my business partner. And he was touring with Nelly Furtado and Blues Traveler back in the day and ended up being the A1 at the Glass Cactus when it opened maybe 10 years ago, something along those lines. And I heard the mix and I just was blown away by it. So I went up, introduced myself, eventually got him to mix my band when I was over at Emerald City. And when I had my falling out with them and started my own company, we got together and, I have to be on stage. I can't be at another band's, event to monitor the quality on the day of. I can do it at rehearsal.
Right.
He's able to do that and pop around, and he's also able to train our sound engineers. And so now we're at this point where, our sound across the board is just so incredible. Our approach to sound and our approach to our equipment, it complements spaces. It warms spaces. It doesn't overkill spaces. It doesn't intrude with lots of, trussing and equipment and wires everywhere, which you'll see that a lot at a, luxury wedding. Someone spent $15,000 on a backdrop and the band comes in and covers it up with their equipment.
All their stuff. Yeah.
We don't do that. It's very elegant what we do, and he designed that, and he makes this sound incredible.
So your lease is going to expire in the future, and you're trying to figure out how soon should I start working on that? Is it 6 months or a year or 2 years before my lease expiration? Well, there isn't an exact date. This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and my clients always meet with me about 2 years before their expiration date, and we create a strategy. And then we review that strategy again a year later. And so we're always working toward what's right for them, not what they think might be an arbitrary date by which they need to figure this out. The keys in determining how much time you need are whether or not you're going to move, whether or not you need to expand, will there need to be construction on wherever you're going to go to, and all those things take more time. So do a strategy meeting a couple of years out with your advisor, and that'll make things a lot more clear. For more information, please go to texastenantrep.com. That's TexasTenantRep.com. Welcome back to the Next Level Show. Talking to Jordan Kahn of Jordan Kahn Music Company. Find him online, jordankahnmusiccompany.com. And remember, Kahn is spelled Kahn. So we're talking about bands and setting up for weddings and corporate events and all that kind of thing. How much time do you have to show up, or how far in advance do you have to show up to set up before the actual event starts?
So obviously everything can be different, and we just did an extreme scenario where we did a wedding for The Bachelor in Paradise, Ashley I. Canetti and Jared Haben, and they call her Ashley I.
Okay.
And it was in Newport, Rhode Island at Rosecliff Mansion. And that mansion, similar to, like, let's say the Dallas Museum of Art here, excuse me, it is open to the public until 5 p.m. And the wedding starts at 7.
Oh, my.
So you have 2 hours to get everything in, set up, sound checked. And not only that, there was 4 acts we had to sound check. We had to sound check David Cook, the American Idol winner. There was a string quartet, and we had a cocktail band as well. So, and they had very specialized music requests. So, being able to know how to do that and execute it and, deliver that is a big deal. And so, sometimes we have to add extra crew members to do that. Mm-hmm. But on a typical day, that's a not a normal circumstance.
Yeah.
On a typical day, let's say the wedding starts at 7. Guests arrive for cocktail usually around 5:36. We're silent about an hour before then.
Oh, wow.
So the hour before that, we're doing our sound check. We're maybe run some songs, and it takes, I would say, 3 or 4 hours for our crew person to set up our stuff. We've designed our stuff to be really easy to bring in and set up and tear down. So it's typically one guy who can do it pretty quickly. And he's usually set up an hour before we ever get there as musicians. So he might be there like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, something like that.
So it's kind of an all-day event, but I guess not. I guess the guy that sets up has to be there the whole time because then he has to take down as well.
He sets up,
so he's the long guy.
Yes,
but you're not there. The musicians don't have to be there that entire time.
He also runs sound under the supervision of my business partner, Chris.
Gotcha.
Who has trained him to do so.
Interesting.
And, there's, things like RTA meters that they use to, adjust the frequencies within the room and ring things out. We're all on in-ear monitors, so you don't see any loud amps on stage, and that's partly how we control the quality of the sound as well.
But I noticed in the videos as well that every instrument was mic'd. Every horn was mic'd.
Oh, yes.
So you got to be able to do that to properly mix it, I would assume.
Of course.
So whenever you're doing all this and something goes wrong, that never happens, right?
Never.
What's the most common thing that goes wrong?
Oh, my God. I mean, we have it down to such a science that the only thing that could go wrong is the wedding is running behind.
So it's usually external to you.
Yeah, it's I mean, mic cables go bad every now and then, and you switch them out. But we haven't had any like serious technical issues or anything like that.
You never had somebody that got stood up at the altar and you're standing there waiting to play and.
Oh, I've seen that.
Have you really?
Oh, yes.
Holy cow! What happened?
That I've seen.
Well, I mean,
exactly what you just described. I mean,
oh man, that's horrible.
The wedding planner was left to the task of informing the bride that the groom had left. Not the best situation.
That is awkward.
Very sad.
So I guess that's pretty much a killer, isn't it, to the party?
It's happened more than once. And one time they still had the party and didn't allow the other person's guests in. It was just the person who paid for the band. She was like, "This is my party. I'm going to have a good time." And they're not allowed in. So, those are rare circumstances. I know in the amount of time I've been doing this, I've done, probably thousands of events at this point. I can count on my hand how many times that's happened.
Well, I would hope.
Yeah.
I would hope. I mean, I've never seen it happen. I've never known anybody who's had that happen to them or been the one who did it.
Yeah.
But I asked my wife about that, and she said, "Oh yeah, she knew.
Oh,
She knew of at least one. I think it was only one who had that happen."
just a message to anybody who might be getting married or thinking about getting married out there. You will save a lot more money if you decide to get out earlier than the day of.
Oh.
You do it the day of, all of your vendors are going to make you pay in full. So,
Absolutely, and should.
yeah.
I mean, you could have had another gig, but no.
And sometimes we'll help them out if they want to like take the money and put it towards another date. We try to we want people to be happy with everything, but especially on a Saturday night, those are the nights where everybody makes money.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to live in Austin, and I had I used to manage a high-rise office building downtown Austin, and we had a concert series at noon in the spring. And so every Thursday for lunch, we would have a band. And we got some really good bands, Beto and the Fairlanes and W.C. Clark. And I mean, a bunch of really good local bands were there. And some of them also were touring bands. The price for a noon Thursday band was unbelievably low. I mean, now this was
in Austin.
Oh, I mean, we're like $200, and this would be like a 5-6 piece band. I was like, this is unbelievable. Now at nighttime, you can multiply that by many times, but Thursday noon it was nothing. Of course, sometimes these guys had not even gone to bed yet from the night before.
I believe it.
Oh wow!
I mean, when I was in high school, I was literally showing up to Club Memphis in Addison to set up and tear down equipment till 2, 3 in the morning, and then I'd show up at 7 a.m. at school.
Oh my goodness!
I know what you mean.
That would be hard. That'd be kind of fun though to have that. I mean, it sounds like a fun life, but I guess that would really
My
wear on
teachers were
you.
like, "What is going on with you?" And I'm like, "I'm in a band," and they're like, "Okay, that makes sense."
kind of like you today. I mean, you just flew in from New York this morning because you went to the Kiss concert last night.
I mean,
so.
right? Yeah, it was amazing.
The rock star life, right? Somebody's got to do it.
Quick story about that, real quick. I went up to Gene Simmons and I said, "Shalom, Gene," and he goes, "Shalom." It was great.
Your Jewish rock star brothers.
Yes, exactly. Well,
there's quite a lot of those, aren't there?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and especially in show business all over the place.
Oh yeah, well that's cool. So the show business is interesting. So the model, as you described it earlier, the original, hey, we record. There's a record company that pushes it out, all that kind of thing. That kind of went away a long time ago, not just for Napster and everything like you mentioned, but also YouTube. It seems like there's so many stars that have come up through YouTube,
absolutely,
and created a following. So it seems like there is the whole idea that you got to record original music is not so much the thing anymore. Is you have to be original in the way you do the cover.
It depends on what you want to do. You'll find a lot of musicians who really want to write their own music. They don't really want to play other people's music. Like right. I love playing other people's music and hits and getting people into what I'm singing. And I'm not the biggest, songwriter in the world. I've written a song or two. It's not what I like spending my time on. But for artists that do like spending their time on that and going through that struggle, you typically won't find them as much as invested in the cover band scene. Mm-hmm. And so it almost is two different worlds. And, me and my business partner call the original music scene the real music industry. And it's one of the reasons why we set up shop in New York. We are, in the process of starting a record label as well. And it's a whole nother ball game. But, record sales are out. Streaming is in. And, just to kind of give you an idea, a stream pays an artist 0.0004 pennies, basically, every time it plays on Spotify.
That's incredibly low.
Yes.
How does that compare to, though, like the ASCAP royalty kind of thing where, a Fleetwood Mac song from 1988 gets played? I mean, do they get paid that way by the play or no?
I mean, they do. And, record deals, they have the 360 deal, which, is the record companies take part of your ancillary. They have a publishing split. and all those things. Me and my business partner want to find what is the best model for the real music industry to emerge out of the, dust of what, Napster started. And, the music industry is up, I believe, $2 billion over the last 2 years from where it used to be. So it's recovering. We like that.
What does it mean to have a record label these days?
Well, basically, when you have a record label, you're signing artists.
Right.
And then you produce that artist. You find good songs for that artist. Hopefully that artist has their own songs as well, but sometimes they don't. You're basically a bank for the artist.
Say, so you pay for their upfront costs to record it and for studio time and that kind of thing.
Yes,
to push out the marketing of it.
Marketing, the recording, tour support.
So it's pretty much the same thing as the record labels from the past, only now it's not. You're not pressing an actual CD or album.
Well, and we, created this mentorship with a really good friend of mine now and music mogul. His name is Jason Flom, and he was CEO of Atlantic and CEO of Capitol, and he's now with Lava Universal, and he's signed incredible artists like Kid Rock and Alanis Morissette and Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and his new band Greta Van Fleet is doing really good stuff right now. And he also has this charity called the Innocence Project. We donated a 6-figure amount to the Innocence Project in exchange for him to give us advice when we need it.
Nice.
And so it's we're not fast tracking it. We're waiting for the right artist. And when that artist comes along, we're ready to pull the trigger on it. And with his guidance, we anticipate a success. And once we have that success, me and my business partner, want to put our brains together and figure out what is the best model for today.
Yeah.
For streaming, for the revenue of today, not, what do we need to do to save ourselves from the revenue of yesterday?
Exactly. All right, one more break. Be back in a moment.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Hello, friends. Bob Gibbons again. We're here talking to Jordan Kahn. Check him out, jordankahnmusiccompany.com. I'm really interested in the music business, not because I have any talent or hope that I'll ever make a dime from it. I didn't tell you this earlier, but I was reminding my wife this morning that I went to high school in California. I graduated from high school in California, in Central California. My roommates and I went to boarding school. We had a plan, which was to go down to Bakersfield, work in the oil fields to make money to pay the rent, but we were all going to rent a house together and start a band.
I love it. That sounds great.
It never happened. And thank God, because there was a serious dearth of talent, certainly in my case anyway. I was going to be the drummer. You know how many drums I'd played at that point?
How many?
Absolutely none. Maybe a bongo here or there. And nobody actually, one guy went, and he actually worked in the oil fields, but as far as I know, he never went into a band, and neither did any of the rest of them.
Unbelievable.
The dream died right then. But it was the right thing that we didn't do that. But, so many people want to be in a band, but having talent alone really isn't enough, it doesn't appear. Because I know a lot of people that have serious talent that are accountants and other stuff.
Yes. The musician mentality is something that we have to manage. And, some musicians who are very, especially the really, really talented ones, they don't like I was kind of explaining before, cover band work might not be their thing. So they might not want to feel trapped or tied down into you have to be in this band every show that we do all the time. And so we've created this company culture of, we employ and we put musicians to work, but if you need to go on tour with, whoever, or you want to go try to make it in New York or LA, or you've got to go overseas, that you can still come back or we can still even hire you from wherever you were at, especially because we're, like 2 weeks ago, we had 9 bands in 5 states on one night.
Oh,
I had people flying from all over the place, and people from Berkeley that I knew, and New York, all the way from Florida. So, it's just the way it rolls. But, we find talented people and we say, you have to know this material, before we ever put you on a gig. It's about 100 songs they need to like really know, and then I'll add some based on my conversations with the bride and groom.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, they can accept or decline our offers based on their availability. And we have a call list, and the cream rises to the top, and
Right.
that's how we base everything for them. So we still are able to utilize those extremely talented people without making them feel resentful that they're not focusing on their passion.
Right. So I assume all these people are like 1099 independent contractors.
Correct.
They're not employees.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think I read you had over 100 people that were
100 musicians
in your different bands and such. There's always been this sort of idea that musicians are somehow different than the rest of us.
How so?
Well, I'll put it this way. I took guitar lessons as an adult, and the guy, and they were at noon. I did it on my lunch hour, and it was hit or miss as to whether or not the guy would show up because he may not have woken up from the night before, or maybe his hair was still wet as he ran in there 15 minutes late. And so the idea that they're night owls, that they're not exactly on time a lot of the time, that kind of thing. Is all that stuff true? I mean, for you to manage all of that must be a nightmare if that's true.
Well, we have to run it like a business. And we do have an early call time, like I explained to you. We're quiet an hour before. An hour before that, we're sound checking. So that's a 2-hour situation where if someone, our musicians do get, a warning and then penalized if they miss that call time.
Mm-hmm.
But also, and we've gotten so big that we have to do a little bit more of that. But especially early on, anybody that was late or put the business at risk, they get removed from the call list immediately. And that travels. We'll even pay someone like, here's the events that you've agreed to do. Here's that money. We're replacing you on those events.
Oh, wow.
And thank you. And, they squirm about it. But they also talk to their musician buddies about it, who in turn are like, well, you were late. We get it. And also, we're not going to be late because we want to keep our job.
Well, it's going to be a little tough to have a rockin' band when the drummer doesn't show up.
Exactly. And so nowadays, we don't have issues like that.
Well, I would assume that at the point that you guys are now, as long as you've been around, the name that you have, the number of bands you have, I would think that there's some sort of like a pecking order in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And so the people that are playing some little dive, that's going to be a whole different level than what you're doing, what Emerald City's doing.
Exactly.
So you get to kind of pick.
Well, and even in Emerald City, those guys have to be in that band. They're not allowed. They literally will be fired if they play a show with me. They're or in any other band.
So they can't go to or
exactly. They're kind of handcuffed.
Yeah.
To that, and even if they're off, they get threatened, like you're not allowed to play in other bands.
Wow.
And we don't think that's really supportive of the musician culture.
Yeah.
And so our culture and our company, there's in that organization, and I was there for 10 years. People, there's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of people that are kind of going at each other and kind of chaotic. In our organization, everybody gets along. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody is there to do their job. Musicians want to show up, be prepared, feel good about what they're doing, and get paid.
Yeah.
And so we make that easy on them.
It must be kind of hard to insert somebody at the last minute, though, if they, I mean, given what I saw of your band and the choreography of all the band members and hitting the marks and all the rest, I mean, you can't just slide somebody into that.
Lots of rehearsal.
I would bet. So why are you in Dallas and in New York? Why are you not based in one spot?
New York is kind of the center hub for the international wedding community and the rest of the United States.
And when you say international, you're talking destination weddings primarily, or even people that are from other countries that want you to come over there?
The people from other countries, or the events that are happening in Paris and Italy that we get pitched on, typically are American families.
Okay.
Who are using American wedding planners from New York.
Okay.
Or from the East Coast, or whoever their favorite destination wedding planner is. There's a handful of them out there that are all really great. and we try to work with all of them.
Interesting. And, it's also interesting because when you go to Europe, a lot of the music you hear is American rock and roll.
Oh yeah, exactly. They are crazy about American music.
Oh, we were in,
and they don't want to hear it with an Italian accent.
That is kind of off-putting, I have to admit. I've heard some of that. My daughter spent her first year in college in Florence, Italy, and we went to see her. And we ended up getting stuck accidentally in Pisa on New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
Because we'd been at Cinque Terre and we missed our last train, and the only way to anyway, we ended up in Pisa. Leave it at that. And we had to wait for a bus that didn't leave till 1:15 a.m. going back to Florence for an hour and a half bus ride back to Florence. And so we were thinking, all right, we're going to get to sleep on the way back. Oh, no. The Italian festivities in Pisa had just finished, and everybody got on a bus to go back to Florence, and they listened to American rock and roll, cranked up on the bus the entire way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was funny, but in retrospect, it's kind of cool, and it was kind of a cool story. But at the time, I was really just craving sleep. Well, it sounds to me like the way to make money in the music business these days is primarily live performance. Whether you're a cover band or whether you're original music, it's still live performance.
100%.
I mean, the selling of the item itself. I mean, yeah, YouTube, if you get enough views, there's money to be made in that.
And yes, because they've got their advertising that if you've got a certain amount of followers, then you can have advertising basically that pays the person who owns the channel, right? But that way is a really good way to get discovered as well. But the live performances, as far as in an evening, what you can generate in revenue, whether it's Kiss on stage, they probably put $1 million in their pocket last night.
Wow.
From a live performance.
Where were they at, like Madison Square Garden or
Barclays in Brooklyn?
So how big a venue is that? How many seats is that going to be?
Oh, I would say 15,000, something like that, maybe 20,000.
And they get $1 million for being there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Wow.
We did the meet and greet with the picture. I got a picture with all of them, and they're charging for that too. They figured out how to really monetize because they're not selling records. It's not happening.
Well, it's a total nostalgia play.
They need to figure out how to generate revenue.
Yeah,
without selling records.
I went to see Boston up at Choctaw Casino.
Yeah.
And, I love Boston, never seen him live. Of course, the only guy in the band who was there from the 80s when I loved him was the guitar player. Of course, he's the most important dude, but everybody else is new. There's not a single one that's original, I don't think.
That's funny.
Which, really, with Kiss, I mean, to some extent, they could kind of get away with that with all their garb.
They could. I mean, if, Gene and Paul weren't there, you'd have a problem.
Probably. I mean, I've never seen them in
people would be like, wait a second.
Where's the tongue?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so where do you see the band in 10 years? I shouldn't say the band, but the company.
Yeah.
I mean, your label, of course.
Yeah, the label, we are patient. We're not in a hurry because, we're going to have to spend $1 million to make that a success. Whoa. So we're not just, okay, this person is great. That person has to be vetted. There's a whole set of, criteria that person needs to meet to make everybody involved in that happy. Mm-hmm. As far as the music company, which, basically the cover band, side of things that would be funding, any kind of venture that we did in that way. My business partner and I have been buying existing Dallas bands, about one per year over the last 2 years. We've just purchased 3 bands over the last 2 years, actually. And we intend on doing that every year, adding another band, purchasing another band, and just keep growing.
Keep going.
Keep grabbing up the market share.
Nice. Well, Jordan, thanks so much for being the guest on the show today.
My pleasure, Bob.
Really
Thanks.
Enjoyed it. Listeners, please go check them out, JordanKahnMusicCompany.com. And if you want to know more about the show, TheNextLevelShow.com. Find us on podcasts and YouTube by just searching The Next Level Show. Be back next week. Thanks.